PragerUggh. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
You probably think your opinions matter. You probably think you're an individual with unique experiences, thoughts, and ambitions. Well, I hate to break it to you, but according to current leftist orthodoxy, you're wrong. You see, your opinion only matters relative to your identity and where that identity ranks on the hierarchy of intersectionality. If you're now thinking, what the hell are you talking about? You haven't spent much time on a modern college campus. Intersectionality is a form of identity politics in which the value of your opinion depends on how many victim groups you belong to.
Real talk, conservatives don't know what intersectionality means. When it comes to them, intersectionality is something new college students and the left created to make a new social hierarchy where straight white men are at the bottom and their opinions don't matter anymore. So essentially how most of the Western world has worked for hundreds of years, but in reverse, I guess. To keep it simple, I'll be using the definition stated under the Oxford Dictionary, which has intersectionality as
the theory that various forms of discrimination centered on race, gender, class, disability, sexuality, and other forms of identity do not work independently but interact to produce particularized forms of social oppression. As such, oppression is the result of intersecting forms of exclusionary practices.
The term was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. It evolved from white woman feminism, a feminism that was based on the cultural and historical experiences of middle and upper class heterosexual white women, which ignored the issues of race, class, sexuality, and ableism. In the last few decades, the term intersectionality has expanded to include more oppressed and disadvantaged groups than just women, and surprise, but not really a surprise, conservative white men are upset.
At the bottom of the totem pole is the person everybody loves to hate, the straight white male. And who's at the top? Well, it's very hard to say, because new groups claim victim status all the time. No one can keep track.
Uh-oh, white dude is in the mood. Tell me, where did the minorities and disadvantaged people hurt you? Jokes aside, it's hilarious how straight white people want to be oppressed so bad.
So, how does this intersectionality thing play out? Something like this. Let's say you're a gay white woman. Your opinion matters, but less than that of a gay black woman. Why? Because while all women are oppressed by the patriarchy, and all gays are oppressed by the heterosexual majority, blacks have a victim status that whites obviously don't. Of course, a gay black woman's victim status is less than that of a black trans woman, who ranks below a black Muslim trans woman, and so on. The more memberships you can claim in oppressed groups, the more aggrieved you are, and the higher you rank. Get it?
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
I'm weak. Notice how they had the trans woman just be a dude in a dress compared to the cis woman. They take any opportunity to be transphobic. Also, calling them victim statuses is disrespectful as fuck. That isn't their status. That is what makes them their identity. Ben Shapiro and many other conservatives refuse to acknowledge how these groups are oppressed and mistreated compared to straight white men in this country. But they want to make themselves the victims. Blacks do have victim statuses that whites don't. They don't experience systemic racism and the cultural racism we experience daily. And he's mocking that. Black trans women are endangered at higher rates than regular cis women, but simply saying that they have a higher victim status is disrespectful. Nobody wants to be on top of the oppression Olympics, Ben. We just want to end the oppression, and ignoring their identity and struggles isn't how to do it.
Good, because it's about to get even more complicated. Intersectionality takes your victim status and uses it as the basis for creating alliances with other victim groups. 30 or 40 years ago, activists encouraged racial solidarity among blacks to combat oppression. But today, that's not enough. Today's activists demand blacks make common cause with other allegedly oppressed people: gays, lesbians, transgenders, Palestinians, Native Americans, whomever.
Stop calling us blacks. Bruh, that isn't what intersectionality is. He's just using it as a buzzword for stuff he doesn't like. Also, when it came to the black power groups, many of their leaders were women, queer women at that. And the leaders who were men, like Huey P. Newton, advocated on combining with the women liberation movement and gay liberation movement. Fred Hampton worked with poor whites to fight for equality. So it's not like because my intersectionality that something like that is modern. Ben sits there concerned trolling about black civil rights movements when he doesn't believe in systemic racism.
The idea of institutional racism, that a bunch of white people are sitting behind the scenes and deliberately attempting to harm black people. Right? If you're making that argument, you're an idiot.
uses 1350 whenever he gets the chance.
Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder.
And shits on Black Lives Matter constantly.
Here's the logic. A black gay and a Hispanic gay may not belong to the same victim group racially, but they do belong to the same victim group on the basis of their sexuality. By focusing on the places where various victim identities intersect, intersectionality creates a united us versus them paradigm. Righteous victims rising up together to fight the oppressor, those dreaded straight white men.
Aside from the victim status that he is mocking, he said nothing wrong. Straight white men are the oppressor. They've been the oppressor of so many groups for literal centuries now. I don't know why that's surprising to hear. Conservatives want to call everyone victims, but they are the biggest ones out there, and they haven't even faced an ounce of what everyone else has gone through. They actually go out of their way to whitewash history, erase people of color's identity, and belittle their experiences and say it's their own problem. But then they cry the hardest when we acknowledge that they've been doing that for hundreds of years and benefited from it.
This explains why at a rally protesting the treatment of Palestinians by Israel, you might see a contingent of lesbian activists. That's intersectionality at work. They're so united by their victim status that it doesn't matter if Islamists throw gays off of buildings or murder female family members who defy their father's wishes. Victim solidarity trumps all other considerations.
There is nothing wrong with solidarity, and the fact that he is trying to pit different groups against each other is telling. Israel is an apartheid state. Many people disagree with that, so they protest Israel. Ben Shapiro does not like gay people. Again, he has concern trolling. You don't have to agree with a group's politics to support them through their own struggles. This isn't just victim identity, but all identities. He really wants to make straight white men feel threatened.
The term intersectionality was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, a professor of law at Columbia University. She explains that intersectionality was my attempt to make feminism, anti-racist activism, and anti-discrimination law do what I thought they should: highlight the multiple avenues through which racial and gender oppression were experienced.
Look, so I know he's been doing this in the entire video, but he's about to virtue signal and fearmonger even more for all the fragile white men out there about why this is bad, isn't he?
To Crenshaw, America is a terrible place full of victim groups, each with their particular set of grievances. Why shouldn't these victim groups get together and form a political coalition unified by the belief that the majority society has harmed them? That some professor tucked away in an ivory tower would come up with this nonsense is not surprising. What is surprising and disturbing is that so many people actually go along with it. America is the most open, least racist nation on the planet.
Bro, why do people even listen to this dickhead? America is full of groups that are either systematically, socially, or economically oppressed and are disadvantaged. On top of that hierarchy is straight white men and women, as in all avenues available, they are the most catered to. However, too many people outside that group in America see it as a terrible place that actively works to oppress non-straight, non-white people. Each group of people discriminated against have their own reasons for feeling that way, and to just say that they feel like victims to mock that constantly is just acting in bad faith. All minorities, in one way or another, are victims, and to fix that is to address the issues that made them victims in the first place. But like most conservatives, Ben would rather blame the victim and gaslight them for not being okay with how things are, and, as usual at PragerU, something academia bad. Why are they afraid of Berkeley so much? Who the fuck even said that America was the least racist country?
That Professor Crenshaw is free to spin her nonsensical theories and get paid well for it should offer adequate proof of that. And since when do you have to live someone's experience in order to understand them? You don't have to live as a slave in order to understand that slavery is cruel and wrong. You don't have to live as a woman in order to recognize the evil of rape.
I like how there's a whole sector of feminism dedicated to explaining the intersections of oppression in this country alone. And Ben is saying maybe they should just teach America good. He's also advocating why there shouldn't be a thing as empathy. Why should white men have to understand what these victims go through? Everyone knows slavery is wrong, and everyone knows that rape is bad. That ignores their broader understanding of each social group's struggles and what they face, and the history behind those struggles, which you don't care about, and just say that they are victims.
Finally, and most important, intersectionality promotes the biggest hoax of all, that we aren't individuals who are to be judged on the basis of how we act, but are merely members of groups to be judged on the basis of our group identity. In other words, you and I, as individuals with our unique experiences, thoughts, and ambitions, count for nothing. Our racial and sexual identity count for everything. It's hard to imagine an idea less likely to produce a free and equal America than that. But what do I know? I'm just a straight white male. I'm Ben Shapiro for Prager University.
Intersectionality refers to broad tendencies that affect groups of people. Individuality does not matter. He makes this a black-white issue, but it's incredibly more nuanced than that. Ben, Palestinians live in sewage and just want to bomb crap Shapiro, has some nerve talking about how bad it is to generalize a group of people. How are you going to say identity politics are bad, but you engage in those same politics to essentially mock and shit all over the oppressed groups who actually benefit from it, and use it to better their groups? Solidarity will always mean more than your cancerous self of individualism. Rich people have it, straight people have it, white people have it, Christians have it, men have it. The more you fit into those labels, the more power one had in this country. Enough power to influence and change law. This is just the ramblings of a fragile, salty, straight white male, upset that they aren't being prioritized at all, and their power is ever so slowly moving away from them. Also, Ben Shapiro is Jewish. I don't think he actually counts as white to many people who watch him or repeat his rhetoric. And this has been Prager, hosted by your boy, Bread Pilled Black. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, and I wish all y'all a wonderful day. Peace.